Every single decision you make is either helping your future self or hurting your future self. If you want to be in a great mood in the future, it starts by making friends with future you. How to do that? We're going to get into it today.
Welcome to The Good Mood Show. This is the show where you will learn the best strategies to feel the good moods and good vibes we all love to feel. Now, here's your host, Matt O'Neill.
One of my favorite authors is an author by the name of Dr. Benjamin Hardy. And he has written a book called Be Your Future Self Now that I just absolutely love. He researches a lot of future self authors that came before him, and he's brought a lot of that information into me with this book. And what I've really enjoyed about his work is thinking about how the future Matt O'Neill 10 years from now will be so radically different than the Matt O'Neill I am today. And it's kind of hard to fathom. You know, one of the ways that I figure out that I am going to be crazy different in 10 years is thinking backwards 10 years. If you ever try to think backwards, like think back to 2014, who were you then? What were you doing? You're probably so much different right now than you were than the 2014 version of you that it's not even close. But it's really hard for us to think 10 years in the future and think about how radically different we're going to be. Well, I'm so excited to have today's conversation because one of the best ways to make your present happier, better, to have a better mood is by making friends with the future you. And I've got an expert with us today, Emma Hall. She is a confidence coach, and she inspires her clients to make friends with their future self so that they can live the best possible life in the present. Emma, welcome to the Good Mood Show.
Hi, Matt. Thanks for having me on.
This is going to be so exciting. When you had approached me with this idea of having a future you conversation, I just lit up because it's one of my favorite topics. What gets you so excited about making friends with your future self?
There's so many different ways to try to be motivated and change your life and pursue your personal development. But as humans, we are basically interested in ourselves more than anything. And so it's a really effective way of doing it. Everything that I do kind of impacts me. So why not actually have the most positive impact on myself possible? And I just think it's a really fun way to leverage our beautiful minds to work towards our goals.
And as we're working towards our goals, we're happier. I know that if I make poor choices, maybe the past me made some poor choices and I have to deal with those consequences now. Like maybe past me last night, I don't know, stayed up and watched 2 episodes of the show that we're binging right now on Netflix. And then my alarm still went off and I got up a little bit more groggy and I have to deal with those consequences from past me not anticipating what future me was going to do. But you had said before we got on the show here that when we contemplate our future self, it can stop us from making bad decisions. Can you describe that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, in the example that you gave, if before Netflix just immediately played the next episode, if you had thought about the fact that, oh, I have to get up because I've got to record a podcast tomorrow, I should go to bed. Like if you had just taken those few seconds, you would have made a different decision. You would have got a full night's sleep and you would have been feeling better this morning. It can be that tiny, or it can be huge changes that you can visualize for yourself as well.
So sometimes the decisions we make are more impactful though than just staying up for an extra episode. How do you help us understand which decisions we should be indulging in and which decisions we should be delaying our gratification? How do we make that distinction?
That's such a great question. And I am all about indulgence. And maybe that's why this is such a good tool for me, because it helps me with my delayed gratification. Think about whenever you're making a decision, because life is basically a series of decisions, a series of choices. We're always making a choice. Shall I have tea or coffee? Shall I sleep or get up? Each time, think about option A, option B, or there may be multiple scenarios, and what are the consequences of this? Where's it going to go? And some of them are really not very impactful. The tea or coffee decision really doesn't matter. And so go for it. Have whichever one you want. Have a hot chocolate with whipped cream on it. But then with some of those decisions, you'll think it through and be actually like, well, no, I really don't need this dessert right now. And I know that's going to give me a headache from the sugar later, and I'm not going to be able to sleep. So you know what? I'll skip dessert. It's taking the time to actually, rather than behaving on reactively all the time. As humans, we are very reactive. Instead, stop, slow down, and choose to be deliberate and intentional. And that way you can decide then which decisions you're going to make for your future self and which decisions you're going to make now.
And that's being more intentional with every moment of the day, kind of waking up from this autopilot that we find ourselves on a lot. That a lot of times we are just kind of sleepwalking, and the decision, Netflix does a really good job of just rolling the next episode. We were actually watching Apple TV last night. We're watching the show Platonic with Seth Rogen, and it's hilarious. And it just kind of says, it's got a little timer and it says next episode's about to start, and you only have 5 seconds to stop it, and then it starts. You're like, what the heck, let's do it.
Yeah. And so what if instead you could change that autopilot of your life to be an autopilot of thinking about decisions? It helps you be more present in the present moment, as well as making better decisions for your future, because you are literally thinking, do I want to watch the next episode? Or would it actually be fun to only watch one episode a night and be looking forward to this tomorrow night?
I love now that the shows that are making you wait a week. We're watching Percy Jackson with our children on Disney. And it is so much fun that we only get one episode a week, and we have that anticipation all week, because it's a huge event now for the family. We are all ready and excited for this Percy Jackson show to come out on Tuesday nights. It's our tradition on Tuesdays, just waiting for this show. It's really cool. But you had said that we're programmed for immediate gratification as human beings. Why do you feel that way?
You think about, we're really not that far evolved from being cave people. And literally, we were programmed to, you leave the cave, you go out, you get some food, you find a bush that's got berries on it. You're going to eat all of those berries right away, because you don't know if someone else is going to come and get them, if another animal is going to come and get them, or when the next berry bush is going to be available. And then you go back home and you rest and you wait up till the next time you go out. It's survival that is programmed into us. And we are now living in a landscape where we have immediate access to everything we could ever think of, but we haven't changed from that mindset that we were in of scarcity, where things were limited. And so we're still giving ourselves free rein to access whatever we want.
We watch America's Funniest Home Videos sometimes, and there was a famous experiment done with putting marshmallows in front of children and making them wait to see how much self-control they had. And it was actually really mean of these doctors. They would put a marshmallow in front of a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old, very young child. And I have young children, and I know that they don't have much patience when it comes to sweets. And then the doctor would say, or the scientist would say, if you wait until I get back, I'll give you 2 marshmallows. And these kids would just go nuts staring at this marshmallow. They would stick their tongue out and they would taste it with their tongue and then sit back. But the experimenter never came back. That was the horrible part of it. There was no time limit. They just wanted to see how long the kids could hold out.
I believe, though, as well, that they did follow-up research on that and looked at these children like 15, 20 years later. And the ones who had the self-control were much more successful in life.
They were. Yeah. That was a direct correlation to how much delayed gratification you could have as a child and how much success you would have in life. And it makes sense because later in life, that those same children that could put off eating the sweet treat for 5 minutes for the promise of 2 marshmallows, because there's a payoff if you do this thing. Well, they probably did their homework that night instead of watching TV or going out with their friends with a promise of getting a better grade in the future. And it's the same thing, like, well, I could just sleep in today, or I could get up and go work out. And if I get up and go work out, then I'm going to have the reward sometime down the road of being in the shape that I want to be in. And it's all this delayed gratification gives us the life we want. One of my favorite quotes is that you can do the hard thing now and have the easy life later, or you can have the easy life now and have a hard time later.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because every action or inaction has a consequence. And that's what this work is about, is thinking that through, thinking about what the consequences might be, and then making your choice there. I'm not saying you always have to act for future you. You get to decide. You're an adult. You get to pick. But what I'd love to share is some of the tricks to actually getting into this future self.
Let's do
mindset.
Yes.
Yeah. So the main one is that you have to like future you. We, as I said, we care about ourselves, doing things for ourselves now. But when we tend to think about ourselves in the future, we sort of disassociate and almost see them as a stranger, especially the further away you get. Like if you try to picture yourself 30 years from now, it's much more blurry. So you want to make a close connection with that version of you. And what I did, thank you AI, I got a photo of me and I aged myself in it. And it took a few photos to find one that I was like, I like that version of me. And so I have a photo of future Emma with wrinkles and even more gray hair. And I like her. And I look at her and I think about her when I'm making these decisions. And so that helps me to be more connected and kind of see that real impact. And then another thing that you can do to kind of build that relationship is write letters to and from your future self. So, think about thinking, like you said, about this looking back to 2014 and imagining where you were. I love that. So, instead, let's go ahead to 2034 and think about where you want to be then. And then write from future Matt, 2034 Matt, writes a letter to 2024 Matt, saying about how great life is, all of the things that he's appreciating and enjoying, and thanking you for reading the self-help books, for doing the exercise, for making the healthy food choices, because that's enabled future Matt to go climb the mountain or whatever it is. And then you can really connect to yourself and start to care about future you as if they're a friend, someone you really love.
I do all of this work because I love it, which is why I was so excited to have this conversation with you. The only thing I haven't done is get an aged picture of myself and like hang out with him, because that's really cool that you've actually given a visual to it. And it's like, oh, I like who I'm going to be in 10, 20, 30 years from now. I like how I'm going to look. I love that version of me. I totally agree. We have to make a deep connection and we have to really love who that person is going to be if we're going to care for them and provide for them. And they're going to be here whether we like it or not. So they're going to be a lot happier with us if we love them now than if we, make life really hard for them by not saving, by not taking care of our health, by not taking care of our relationships. And I really think those are the big three. When I think of my future self, I'm thinking of, am I setting you up well financially? Am I setting you up well from a health standpoint? And am I setting you up well with relationships? Because if I don't make deposits in my marriage now, I might not have one in 30 years. If I don't make deposits with each of my children now, we might have estranged relationships in 30 years. And this is a really interesting thought. Clayton Christensen wrote a book called How Will You Measure Your Life? And he talked about many people that he graduated Harvard from that got into a lot of trouble as they aged with him. And he said, it's so easy to choose work over spending time with your kids. It's so easy to choose making this work project a priority over a date with your wife. He said, because with the work project, we can get immediate gratification. We make progress on the project, we close the deal, we make money, we can see the result immediate. He said, with your marriage, you go on one date, you don't see any results. But it's the accumulation of how many dates did you skip over 10 years that turns into now you don't have a marriage that she wants to be a part of or that you want to be a part of. Same with your children. If you don't go to one game, you don't see a difference. But if you don't go to this game and you let down that game and you let down this game, 10 years from now, you may not have a relationship with that child that they're proud of or that you're proud of. So that is, those are relationships, health, and financial success are the three ways that I really want to set my future self up for success. I wanted to get your take on those three things.
Yeah, I mean, definitely finances, whether we like it or not, they're a huge influential part of life. So that is very much making those decisions now that perhaps you don't go to Starbucks so that you can put money away in your savings because you know that that's gonna $100 in the bank now invested well is going to be worth so much more in 10 years time than Starbucks was to you in the moment, right? So finances is huge, but I think your health and your relationships, absolutely. Like health is a huge focus area for me. And it's about doing little things. Like I'm looking over at my microgreen garden on my windowsill. You know, it's a tiny little change, but I know that it is going to have an impact over time. And it also makes me feel good to be growing my own food.
How cool.
Even if it's microgreens. Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, there's a lot of studies actually that growing plants, it puts you in a good mood. That in having live plants that you're caring for, it's a symbiotic relationship. They get from you, but you also get from them.
Yeah, it's hugely rewarding. I haven't grown anything before, so this is my New Year project, and I'm loving it. So.
I'm going to take that from you. We're going to get a garden.
Yeah.
I can't believe you're growing things in negative 30-degree weather, by the way.
Well, it is. I do have them off the windowsill now because it's way too cold to have them against the windowsill.
Well, and one of the other things you teach is unshakable confidence. How does connecting with our future self help us grow our confidence now?
Yeah, confidence is, I believe, the key to everything. When you have confidence, you're willing to have difficult conversations, you're willing to take risks and put yourself out there, take on challenges. And self-confidence is founded in self-love. You need to love yourself. And so by connecting to that future self, that really helps you deepen that connection and that love for yourself. It's spending time hanging out with you, understanding the implications of your actions. Again, being like more self-aware and really thinking about who am I now? Who was I? Who am I going to become? And just deepening that relationship with yourself helps you to be more confident about, I'm making these decisions now that some people may disagree with. Like my friends might be, no, come out drinking this weekend. And I'll say, no, I'm saving money and I'm not drinking. I know that that's in my best interest because future me is going to thank me for that. So I'm not then guilted into going and doing something that I don't want to do. It gives me that confidence to know that I'm making the decisions in my best interest.
And I loved the exercise that you had guided us to about writing letters to our future self, and then as our future self back to now. Just last week, I had a conversation with my 20-year younger self, and I started out with massive appreciation. I was like, "Bro, thank you, man. Like, you've been so bold. You went for it, young 20s at the time." And I'm like, you put yourself into a new town. You started this new career. You didn't know anything about it. Like, these were huge risks. I'm so proud. Thank you for taking those big risks and putting us in position to grow. But let me tell you everything that's happened in the last 20 years. And I started talking about how we met our dream woman, my wife, Katie, and like how she's everything that he had been wishing for and hoping for, and that we had our dream children. That I used to talk to when I was in my young 20s. I'd talk to kids that I didn't even have yet, without a wife or even a prospect of one, because I'd always wanted to be a father. And I talked about the successes that we had and like everything we'd learned and who we had met and how we'd become. And it was a moment that I was literally talking to him. He was sitting in the car next to me, but just in my imagination. And it was like I got cheered up a few times having this conversation about how great it had been these past 20 years. And then this week I went forward 10 years. So, 2034, as you had said. And I acted as my 52-year-old self, writing back to my 42-year-old self. And I said the same thing, but in this time in a letter format. And I said, Matt, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of what you've done and what you've accomplished, how you've followed your dreams and started the Good Mood Show and written the book that was always in your heart. And let me just tell you what's happened over the past 10 years. Your daughter is on the cheer team at Clemson, and your other daughter is a star in her high school soccer team. And you and your wife have traveled to Greece, back to where you honeymooned. And like, it was amazing. And I just started to tell all these stories. And it was a way that I was connecting to who my future is going to be. I think that when we do those exercises, as you had recommended, and if you're listening, take the time. It's amazing when you have a conversation backwards and then you project yourself forward and have a conversation back to yourself today. It's amazing how much clarity you get on what you should be doing in the now. It really does direct your current decisions so that you're going to have the happiest life that you can. What have been some of your insights as you've done some of these exercises, Emma?
Yeah, I'll answer that. But first, I just want to say I love that you started these conversations with celebration, because acknowledging what has gone well, what we've done well, saying you're proud, that is also a real key to success with this. It's don't be tempted to start out with saying like what you did wrong. Focus on what you did right and those celebrations, because that really helps with self-confidence and motivation.
I did this meditation. It was in a book. I was reading a book, and I can't remember the name of the book at this point. But the guy it was a meditation. He's like, here's a meditation, and I'm reading it. And he's talking about how there's these two mountains. And he said, you see this path heading to the mountains. And you start to follow it. And there's tall grass, and it's really beautiful. And as you approach one of the mountains, you see at the top a figure appears. And he's coming down towards you. And you're walking up towards him. And as he gets nearer, you see that he is future you in his 80s. And he sits down next to you and he has a conversation. And he said, what does he say? And I was like, he said, I'm proud of you. And I just started crying. So I know that what I want to hear is I'm proud of you. So that's how I always am starting these conversations with past me or as future me coming back. I'm like, I'm proud of you. Like, you're doing it. I'm so proud. No one wants to be told they're not doing good enough.
We're motivated much more by positive feedback than negative. So yeah, definitely. Be your best friend. Tell yourself what you need to hear. But really with this work, what I have found universally shows up for me is that the small things have enormous impact. So to never discount the little things, because those things, they're easier to implement, and they accumulate and make a big difference in life. So for me, that's really been the continuous thread through any of this work, looking forward and looking back, is the small things make a big difference.
What are some of those small things for you?
Well, so many. But I think about shifting how I talk to myself has been huge. So we were talking before we came on about just little words that you can use, changing from I have to I get to. Like, using that language over the past 5 or so years has had a phenomenal difference in my mindset and in my life. Other small changes.
I just to stay with that one. I have to take my daughter to cheerleading tonight.
Right.
It's a Friday night. She actually woke up this morning and she was so excited when we got into this cheerleading class. I took her on a one-on-one date to see a cheer competition, and she fell in love immediately. This was like 3 months ago. And she said, Dad, I want to be a cheerleader. And I'm like, awesome. So we went to the place that competes in our town called Pack Athletics. And they said the only class we have available for her is on Friday nights. I'm like, hey, I'll commit to doing this on Friday nights if this is what you want. She's like, yes, Daddy, this is exactly what I want. Well, her friend invited her for a sleepover. And this morning, as she was getting ready for school, her mom overheard her telling her sister, I have to go to this stupid cheerleading tonight and I can't go to Emma's house. And Katie stepped in and she said, Harper, you don't have to go to this cheerleading and you don't have to be in this thing. And she said, no, Mommy, I didn't mean it. I really love cheerleading. I'm sorry. This is my dream. And so Katie is catching our children saying I have to, but she didn't even mean it. So why do we do that? Why do we discount the life that we really want to just be negative in the moment? I'm not saying Harper's a really positive person, but I'll do it myself. I'll have to all over my dream life that I'm living right now. Like, I have to take care of these children, but they're my dream children,
Yeah. It is interesting. And humans are kind of wired towards negativity as well. And it does take conscious effort to be positive and to have a daily gratitude practice and to choose to notice when you're being, like you say, saying I have to about living your dream life. And it is so worth doing. Stuff that comes easy, you don't get the same hit out of success, right? If something was easy. Whereas if you actually put in effort and you get success, it is much more rewarding. But if you just keep up this work of chipping away at these little things, like listen to all the different ideas on shows like this and just pick up the little nuggets of it, the breadcrumbs that you want to work with, and try them and just do lots of little things, and you will notice a huge difference looking back and seeing what a negative person you used to be. And even thinking about if you're in traffic and someone cuts you off and you let that ruin your day, Whereas if instead you're like, oh, you know what? I'll just let them in. It's just one more person. And then that's gone. You're not carrying that anymore.
Yes, yes. I just want everyone, if you're listening to the show, your life right now is the life of your dreams. You have created your life exactly as it is now. You've created every aspect of it. It's the life that you attracted to you because you wanted it. So the job you're in is the job you wanted. You know, the bank account that you have right now is a bank account that you've chosen. And when the family you have is the family that you wanted. It's the family you created. The friends you have are the friends that you wanted. They're the ones you attracted. So if there's ever a time that you're not happy with your life, it's you chose it. So we can just choose something different if it's not what we want. But there's no use in complaining about it because it's here because of us. So anytime I catch myself complaining, and I agree with you, I think our brains are skewed negative. I think that's survival for sure. I don't get upset with myself when my brain goes negative. I just want to catch it and say, that's not who I am. The brain has decided to say some negative things. That's not who I am. This is the life I've chosen. This is the life that I want. And if ever I'm not saying that, then I'm like, okay, well, there's an aspect of my life I don't want. So I'm going to choose something different today and I'm going to change it. But you're big on manifesting your dreams. So how do you help your clients manifest their dream life?
Yeah, manifestation is incredible. And visualization is a really big part of that. So similar to our future self, you want to get like a really clear picture of what it is that you want. And so thinking about, I'll tell you actually about a manifestation that I did last year.
Oh,
I
that's
was
fun.
wanting to buy a piece of property that has a waterfall on it. And so every morning and every night, I spent time intentionally daydreaming, picturing myself sitting beside the waterfall, enjoying being in that space, and literally feeling what it would be like to have this thing. And there is more to it than just thinking about it. You then also need to take actionable steps towards it. So, you have to put in the offer on the land, you have to find the money. But having that strength, that visualization of picturing what you want, and then figuring out what are the steps that I need to get there. And then anytime that you're feeling, oh, this is too hard, this is too much, I can't do it, you step back into that visualization and you start picturing yourself having whatever it is you're looking for. And, you talked about your life is what you created. It is. So everything is energy. There's scientific research that shows everything vibrates at different frequencies. And you can shift your frequency by being in not the I wish I owned a waterfall, but wow, I own a waterfall. And that changes your vibration. And these energies are magnetic and you start attracting things that you are a match for. So whatever, listeners, if you're wanting a partner, a pet, a vacation, a different job, really spend time thinking about what that looks like, what you want, and spend time feeling it, letting yourself really be in it. And you will start to shift and change. And then anytime you get in those doubts when things are hard, when you're taking the actual actionable steps, step back into that and feel it. And eventually you will get there.
It's future self for sure. It's the same thing that we've been talking about. So you were visualizing as your future self who owned this property with a waterfall, enjoying it, being so grateful that you had it, but you didn't have it. You didn't even have the plan yet to get it. You would just sit there and visualize already having it as your future self. Like you put yourself into the future. You time traveled in your mind over and over and over again. So did you get the property?
Yes, I did.
Is it where you are right now?
No, no. So I'm very fortunate. I have two properties. So I'm at home in my cozy condo right now on the ski hill. But my other property is about 4 hours away and I spend the summer there now. I have an RV on it and I spend my time off grid, just enjoying really unplugging and connecting to nature and swimming in the water at the bottom of the waterfall.
Oh my gosh, you did it.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Congratulations. I
Yeah. So,
have.
like, anything is possible. I never, as a child growing up, had that on my to-do list of things that I wanted to do. You can, like, whoever you are, wherever you're coming from, you can create whatever you want. You just have to put in the work.
So anything I've ever wanted, I've manifested. Like all of it, 100% of it. it but I lean all the way in. It was 2005. I watched the movie The Secret with Rhonda Byrne. And that's when I learned about manifesting. And I was like, oh, this is the coolest. Are you saying that thoughts are things, and then all I have to do is turn my thoughts into what I want, and then those things just show up? Because that's what the law of attraction is all about. And I just decided I was just going to believe it completely and go for it. And I created the vision boards and I wrote the lists, and all of the stuff on my vision board came true. And I was like, well, shoot, this board's done. Let's get a new one. And so I'd make a new one and everything would happen. And I've done this with my kids now. And every year my children will make a vision board, and I make sure that the things on that vision board come true so that they understand how powerful they are. Now, they're not the one. So my daughter has Paris on her vision board, and she's not the one that's going to go earn the money at 10 years old she could. I mean, if she was really invested in getting to Paris, I'm sure she could figure out a way to do it as a 10-year-old. But I take a one-on-one trip once every 4 years with each of the 4 children. And so this is her turn, and we're going to Paris because it's on her vision board. And it's just so much fun for me to make their vision come true. One of my other daughters picked the cutest puppy you've ever seen. And we decided to get that dog. And so that dog is our dog. His name is Lucky, and he's at the house now. But yeah, I absolutely love not just a vision board, but I love what you did with it, which is spending time actually feeling what it feels like to be that future version of yourself who has those things. It's very powerful. It's more powerful, I think, than any other force out there. Is this feeling what it feels like for it to already happen. So when I write my goals, I don't write them as if I want them. I don't say I want this amount of success, or I want this kind of lifestyle. I write them as if I have them. I am this success. I am this lifestyle. I am doing this. I'm swimming in my waterfall pool. I mean, it sounds so amazing.
Yeah. And I'm a yoga teacher as well. And at the beginning of each class, we invite you to come up with your sankalpa, your intention. And again, that is, you're taking whatever it is you want. Like, I've come to yoga because I want to feel calm. And you turn that around to, I am calm. It's very powerful. Instead of telling yourself, I want something, tell yourself, I am.
Wow, that's a really big insight you just said there. From I want to feel at peace, because probably if I'm saying I want to feel calm and at peace, I'm not feeling it at that moment, and flipping it to saying I am peace, I am calm. And as soon as I change my language, I'm peace and I'm calm, right? Like it just happens that quick. Very powerful. So when's the right time to start something? Let's say we get this big vision. I also believe fully that any vision that we have, we can have. So I don't think God would give you a vision of having a waterfall if it wasn't possible for your future, and you've proven that it was possible for your future. So if you're listening to this episode, whatever's in your heart, that thing that you feel like you can't do, or if it's there and you want it, God's saying you can have this if you go for it and you start to put into practice what Emma's teaching about this visualization. And then the next step, which Rhonda Byrne and The Secret don't talk about, which is actually taking action. So when's the right time to start taking action?
Right now. Stop waiting for the right time. And I'm using my little air quotes there. There is no right time. It's just you deferring and putting it off. And the longer you wait, then the further away it becomes. Start now. Start small. Think about the tiniest step that you can take towards your goal and make it happen. Because if you're waiting, it's going to be next year and next year and next year. So stop waiting for the right time. There is no right time. You get to choose, you get to decide, you get to make this the right time.
One of the ways I do this is by thinking about the essence of the goal and then saying, how could I fulfill the essence of this goal right now? So with your waterfall, the essence could have been, I'm going to vacation to a waterfall. And you could have experienced this waterfall, at any moment. You could have taken a vacation to a waterfall and experienced it. Not to take away that you were going to actually own one day, but you could experience it now. I had this vision that I was going to speak to large audiences, and I would picture myself on stage, and I'd picture myself with all these people in front of me. And then I heard about this essence thing, and it said, how could you just fulfill the essence of your dream today? And I said, well, man, I've got all these people that work in my company. I could give the speech I want to give in front of all those other people to the people that are here. And so I started to do that. And I started to give the speeches I wanted to give to the people that were already here with me. And I fulfilled the essence of the dream I had. And then another way was I started the podcast. I said, I could just have thousands of people instead of being right in front of me, literally being right in front of me in a different way through podcast. And so I started to fulfill that essence of that speaking dream, immediately. And so that's one of the things I've taken away from manifesting on how to start now. I still haven't gotten these giant speaking gigs in front of all the people on the large stages. No, I take that back. I have. I'm like, it's like, that's the thing is you'll downplay your success a lot. So every year I speak on large stages, but it's not, I think it wasn't what I had envisioned, not large enough yet. So I'm still going for it.
Yeah, well, and absolutely, kind of like distilling it down, like that's exactly the small step, right? And maybe your goal, you have to break it down into milestones along the way. So perhaps you want to climb like one of the 800-meter peaks. Well, you start out by, doing a hike near your house, and that's like a 5-year goal. But, step one would be just to go outside and going for a walk. You can do that today. It doesn't have to be a mountain that you climb today, but starting to actually take steps towards that. You can always do something.
And we're always moving toward our future self, whether we're doing it intentionally or not. And I have just so enjoyed this conversation, Emma. You are a wealth of knowledge and so fun to talk with about this stuff. You're very, very well schooled and knowledgeable about it. So how would somebody learn more from you? How could they learn more unshakable confidence and befriending their future self?
Yeah, well, right now I actually have a free 24x reboot challenge. So I recommend you head over to my website at lifeuntethered.com and sign up for that. And you'll get neuroscience-backed tips for all kinds of things like managing stress and overwhelm, dealing with people who annoy you, how to make habits stick, how to be more productive. So join the 24x reboot, and that way you can get a little taste of all my different ideas. And then if you'd like to work with me one-on-one, reach out and we can set up a strategy call.
Well, that sounds fantastic. I always need to learn how to deal with annoying people in a way that I'm going to feel empowered and happy coming out of it on the other side, and hopefully thinking they're less annoying. So thank you for being on the show today, Emma. It was such a pleasure. And thank you guys for investing in your future selves and listening to this episode. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of The Good Mood Show with Matt O'Neill. For free resources, videos, and materials about getting into your best moods, head over to thegoodmoodshow.com. See you next week, same time, same place.